Um, how to start this? I guess if we were to speak about like the first time that we encountered the notion of youth agency, it reminds me of when I was a kid, and I think I was in grade 3. I don't quite remember, but we did this project called About Me, but it was very limited, and I felt like I was very kind of like closed in, and it seemed like the teacher was kind of checking off expectations, kind of like learning who her students were, but also it just didn't seem very creative. It didn't seem like we had the openness there.
When I was young, I always loved school, but I never liked sharing my own stories or creating my own stories. I never thought of myself as a creative person my whole life, and I feel like looking back, that had a lot to do with the rules that were around storytelling when I was in school.
School and personal life is so interconnected, and things that might be going on in a child's personal life can really affect them at school, and I think sometimes we forget about that.
To find a way to just be myself, but it's hard. Like, who am I? Sometimes I ask. I feel like I'm different in depending on the context. So the true struggle for me is, where is my true voice? You know, my true self. But maybe I am everything.
So I feel like it was a really big kind of identity building moment in my life.
Maybe I can be an artist. Maybe I can be a creative person. I can make something important. I can share my story, or other stories that are important.
And if we can make maybe a connection with maybe some of the wonderful YouTubers we met just the other day.
Kaif and Far,
yeah. How they felt as though there wasn't really a space for them to express themselves and kind of connect with their own sense of identities in their own communities. Being Somali women, they created that space for them, and they were able to do that with the digital, right? Like, they were able to kind of forge their own little space for themselves, which I think is super important.
which encouraged others to then join because they saw that there was that void. They filled it, and then others continued to flourish and benefit from that space being there.
And I think we want to be the type of educators that would really kind of help youth have the courage to do things like that, because it is beneficial for everyone.
I was just thinking, like, what do we need to be as educators then? What do we need to focus on? What are some of the questions we need to think about when we're going into a classroom?
Well, yeah, so we were talking about bridging the divide. There's a huge divide around the world and in Canada in regards to access. So yes, the digital world allows us to elevate those voices, but that doesn't mean that everyone is in that space. And that's an unfair assumption for us to make as educators. So I think that recognizing that not all students have equal access to tools or have the same background or the same head start in regards to digital knowledge, I think is a really important factor. And we need to ensure that we're not assuming anything about our students, and that we are putting everything we can to ensure that students have access to all of these tools to become digital citizens and to become digitally literate in all the ways that they need to be effective, active citizens in our 21st century digital world.